Okay, first of all, thank you for joining us, for coming to this meeting, and we'll be starting with the forum.
Okay, before we start off, why don't both of you introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Ashita. I am 13 years old and I go to James Wellington International School in Dubai. And I am the founder and ideator of the app Dunkabully.
So, hi everyone, I'm Sharanya Sharma and I'm an alumna of GEMS Millennium School, Sharjah. I'm currently pursuing my BA Honours in Applied Psychology from Delhi University in India, and I'll soon be entering my third year. So, anything more about me, if you would want to know, I'm always open to questions. So, you can ask me at any point of time.
One of the questions I would like to ask is we had conducted a survey a week ago, and a number of responses that we had received were unnamed or they were anonymous. So, as you mentioned earlier, your app called Dunkabully, it deals with anonymity. So, what do you think the question of anonymity is actually important? And do you think that there is any difference in the responses to your app if the app wasn't anonymous?
Yeah, I definitely think anonymity is sometimes very important and crucial because most of the time children don't feel safe to speak out about their issues. Because, for example, in the society that we live in now, if you speak out about your issue and the bully finds out, then it's just going to lead to more issues and they'd be calling you a snitch or a tattletale. And so I definitely think if it's anonymous, more people are likely to use it and get the help that they need.
As ambassadors of the fight to end all forms of bullying, how careful do you think we have to be with your words, your actions, or your interactions, if at all? And does it sometimes feel stifling to always be so conscious about like the jokes you make or the comments you pass? Because someone might come back at you calling you a bully, even though you meant no harm.
That's actually a really good question because a lot of the times we do not intend the harm that sometimes does happen, and at other times we actually don't intend the harm, and people just take it personally in a way which is not intended. But we have to acknowledge the fact that at times we are insensitive to others because mistakes are always made. So I think the first thing that should be done in such situations is to go up to the person and ask them without being rude. You don't have to tell them, hey, you're blaming me for something I didn't do. You can just go up to them and ask them that, hey, I did not intend to say these things in this way, and I'm so sorry that my words hurt you. But could you please tell me, how can I improve? How can I make it up to you? And what was it that really hurt you? What was it that made you feel unsafe? And if they're open to share all of that with you, you can always work upon yourself. And when there are times when you're actually really wrongly being accused, you have to also understand that people will sometimes just do things just for the sake of doing it, and you are not to blame for that. So in those moments, you have to sit back and calmly think that, is there something wrong I did? And if there's nothing, you have to also let go of that. And maybe again, if it's a safe option and if it's possible, approach the person, talk to them about it, or if it's really serious, talk to the concerned authorities who can help you out in this situation.
I completely agree. I completely agree. This is why I think it's so important to speak out and not stay in the darkness and bottle up all your emotions because sometimes they don't mean it, and that's why I think it's really so important to speak up.
When you get bullied, you can have two types of reactions that we've generalized from the responses we received. So you can either cope with the bullying, or you can stand up to your bully. So which of these two reactions would you suggest to a victim, or is it subjective in certain cases?
So, for me, what I would say is when you're getting bullied, I think you shouldn't show as much reaction because if you show a reaction, it shows the bully that what they're doing is working and they're getting to you and they're getting inside your head. So for me, I think the best idea is to stay calm, try and tell them to stop, which doesn't always work. And if it doesn't work, I think indicate to someone around you indicate to someone around you to get help, to get a teacher, speak to authorities or something like that, and then work your way up from there so that the bully in the end realizes what they're doing is wrong.
So you're suggesting that we shouldn't directly go up to the walk up to the bully.
So, what I'm trying to say is, when you do directly, you should try at the start. But like I said, they don't always listen, and if you go in too strong or too harsh, or you start acting too upset, it'll show the bully that what they're doing is working, and they're getting to you. They're getting in your head, and that will make that makes them want to keep going because it shows them that what they're doing is working.
And there's a point that I would really like to add to what you just said. That definitely it encourages the other person to bully you more. But there are two things that should be kept in mind. As a budding psychologist myself, I understand that if someone is bullying another, nobody just goes around picking on people just for fun. I mean, it might seem like that on the surface, but a bully is usually somebody who themselves have a lot to deal with. Maybe they aren't getting enough attention at home. Maybe they're having some issues in their own social life with their families. So, you know, they try to get that attention by bullying others, either that, or they are just transferring that frustration or anger. They're venting it out through acts of bullying. Now, this is not always true. There's always going to be some exception, but usually this is what is observed when it comes to bullying. So, one thing is that you have to understand that a bully themselves probably they have an issue going on. Now, that definitely explains their action, but does not justify it or excuse it. So, having a kind of empathic approach towards them helps you understand what's going on and helps you gain control over yourself too. So when I know that the person in front of me is bullying me because maybe they have something going on, and I choose to stay quiet so that they get bored out of me and they stop bullying me, I am also somewhere maybe encouraging them to find another person to pick on, right? So I am shaking my shoulders off from them, but maybe they find another person to bully, and that person may not be able to cope with it as well as I am, or they might cope better than I'm coping, and then another person might face some challenges. So what I'm saying is that instead of starting a chain of not you, okay, I'll pick on you, maybe if you take a stand, you can help someone else, prevent them from getting bullied, and you can help the bully also find the help and care that they need. Because after all, if you see, school bullies are also children, right? Of course what they're doing is wrong, but they're also kids. They also need that kind of resolution of their conflicts. So it's always, I think, a good idea to talk to somebody about it, to talk to them about it, and make sure they know that you're not someone they can bully, not by just ignoring them, but by also telling them that, hey, I know you're trying to bully me, it doesn't affect me. And maybe talk to a counselor about it. You all have school counselors, right? That's what they're there for. And if you think that the counselor is someone you do not wish to, talk to a teacher, talk to your parent, talk to a friend. But don't just let it go, because if you do that, they'll find the next victim and they might not be able to cope with it as well as you can.
I definitely agree. And that's why I also think that the people around you, when the whole bullying situation is playing out, that's why I think the people around you play such a big role and are super important. Because if someone around you wants to stand up to the bully as well, and show them that what you're doing isn't right, it gives the victim a sense of safety and security. And when the bully sees it's coming from someone else as well, they're like, okay, maybe I need to step back. Maybe I need to think about what I'm doing.
All right, thank you for those very comprehensive answers. Next question will be posed by Anulu.
Yes, thank you. So, oftentimes people make memes about their classmates, poke fun at them. These situations seem like fun and games to some, but other people believe it's bullying. So, this begs the question, is bullying subjective? And where exactly does one draw the line?
That's really a very good question again, because there's a very, very fine line between humor, something that's funny, and something that can potentially be damaging for others. So if you see, what's funny to me may not be funny to you, because it might be connected to your sentiments in some way. So no, I wouldn't say that bullying is always subjective, but definitely there is a certain element of subjectivity to it that comes because people are different. That variety is the beauty of life. Everyone has a different background, they have different affiliations, and at the same time, the capacity that people have to cope with things, to deal with things, is also different. So I'll just give you a small example. If I have three glasses kept over here, one of them is half full, one of them is one fourth full, one of them is full to the three-fourth, right? If you add water to it, all the three glasses will overflow at different points. So that's the same with humans as well. If a person is already going through a lot, for example, if you add more pressure to them, they will probably leak and overflow and maybe burst open. And someone who's just one fourth full may be able to cope better. And that does not mean one person is strong, another is weak. It's just that people are different, their lives are different. So it's very important to always have that fine line whenever you or anybody makes a meme, for example. There should be certain questions you should be asking to yourself, that if I were in, say, X person's place, would it still be funny to me? Is there any element in this joke that may be offensive to somebody from, say, this class, this race, this religion, or this economic background, or anything? So if you just bring that much sensitivity to yourself, I think a lot of the harassment and bullying that is unintentional can be avoided.
Yeah, so this is why I think communication is so important because you only know so little about what's going on in someone's lives. Someone's life could be this big and you know just this much. And if you put yourself in their position, that's how it's really all going to play out. So I think self awareness is really important in this kind of situation, self awareness and communication.
So thank you for those thoughtful answers.
Yeah. So one respondent from our survey told us that he told his parents that he was bullied at school, and his parents told him to ignore the bullies as their amusement was fed by his reactions, and said boys don't cry and he should be strong. Do you think this was an appropriate reaction? And if not, how should parents talk to their children about bullying?
So, for me, I think what they said about ignoring the bully, that is valid. But again, bringing back to Hannah's question, like it doesn't always stop, and there's other victims, everything like that. So, what I think is really important is that they get proper help and seek help with someone that can give them advice about how they can stop thinking about it, how they can stand up to the bully, and how they can deal with these mental issues. And I think their parents should really be supportive of them. So they should be supportive, they should be asking questions to understand the situation better, so they can help their child get the proper help that they need if they can't provide it.
And I definitely agree with that. And at the same time, I also would like to add that we tend to really think a lot in black and white, like should and must, should and should not. So I definitely get when you say that parents should be supportive and should be asking questions, helping them out. But that's unfortunately not the case. A lot of the times, not always, but a lot of the times, the world, a lot of it operates in that gray area between the black and white. So in situations where unfortunately the parents are not as supportive, two things again that you should understand. Um, Again, this is a should statement that I'm making, but you should try to understand at least that the parents themselves are trying to do the best with what they have. So probably at some point in their childhood, similar things might have played out, and this is what they have been told. So that's their learning across their lifespan, that's kind of being projected and being taught to you. So it's also important to understand that they can also make mistakes. So instead of jumping to the conclusion that, oh my god, my parents are bad, they're not helping me, they're not helpful at all, they are doing the wrong thing. Try to understand that maybe this is the best that they know, and of course they wouldn't want to put you in a situation which will put you in more pain. They think that's the best solution. So sitting down with them and explaining it to them that, mom, dad, this really does not help, and doing this is probably so and so consequences that we've already discussed. So I think we should talk to someone like my school counselor, like my class teacher, or anyone else who can be a good person to speak to about this, and explain to the parents as well what would be a better way to deal with this, because they are also parents, they're also learning. It's not like they were born with all the knowledge of how to be a parent. So I think that's what life is, a process of learning and teaching and exchanging that kind of ideas with each other. So you can always take that step to also try to educate them while also making sure that you are doing fine. Speak to someone. If your parents say boys shouldn't cry, that's a very, very hurtful statement. I do understand that. Talk about it to them at a point which feels appropriate, because such conversations don't always work out in a good way. So maybe talk to a friend while you can. Make sure your mental health is not getting affected while you take everything else forward with you. That's, I think, a very mature way to handle the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that what I think is exactly so. In the end, your parents always want the best for you, and their knowledge is very limited. And so, in a way where you can teach them and they can teach you, and you get the help you need in the very end.
Yeah, got it. Coming back to communication is key, right?
So some of the responses we got were like very meager amount of bullying, such as forcing someone to share their food. But how do you think, like, what kind of an impact does a tiny amount of bullying have on the victim?
So for me, in my definition of bullying, I think bullying is something that happens. It's something that's harmful and rude towards someone else, and it's harming them over a period of time. So when it's coming to taking food, if it's happening over a period of time, once again, going back to the whole idea of communication is key. If you're just letting this happen and you're not telling anyone, it's not going to stop, because in the end it's going to keep happening. That's what bullying is. It's being harmful and hurt over a period of time. So then just going back to that idea that communication is key, talking to your parents, talking to friends, teachers, counselors, just like that.
Moreover, when we speak about the impact that apparently small amount of bullying can have on the person, again, that brings us back to the glass theory that I just discussed. The example, like, if someone's already, for example, struggling with financial issues at home, and they are struggling to make ends meet, and they probably have a shortage of food as well. In that situation, if their food is being forcefully taken away, it will impact them more compared to someone who has plenty of food and they don't really mind sharing their meal with others. So here I think what really is important is also emotional education, how to actually deal with situations like this. Because here, if for example Ishita is taking my food, and I tell her that, you know what, Ishita, if you want to take my food, maybe just ask me, because I'm not comfortable with people just taking my stuff without asking me. That's somewhere you learn how to draw a boundary with people. And a lot of the time, people just don't want that hassle of fighting and getting into that hanky panky kind of thing with you, where they fight you, punch you, or whatever. That's just a lot of effort. So when you draw a clear boundary with somebody, a lot of the times they do respect it. And when they don't, you know what to do. Take it higher with the authorities, talk to someone about it. That's something that's already said. But again, that brings me just back to the fact that we need more of emotional education in our curriculums, in our schools, so that people know about bullying, they know about boundaries and how to cope with emotions, what are the right courses of action to take. So all of this again becomes really, really important.
So, how do you react if you're being bullied for a rumor that has been spread about you? Especially considering cyberbullying, you could stand up to the bully, you could talk, you could go talk to someone else, and they might help you solve the problem. But what about the general public who have seen that rumor about you, and they have that image of you in their mind that, yeah, this guy must be like this because this rumor has been spread about him? What do you do about such things?
So if you think the rumors online, yeah. So when you're being cyberbullied, the first steps you should take is take screenshots, keep the evidence, and then block and report. So when it comes to the general public thinking about, oh, this rumor has spread, this must be true, I think I think really addressing it and speaking to the person that started the rumor, like why they've started it. Because like we mentioned previously, sometimes when people bully, it's because they're going through their own issues in their own household. And so I think just getting the point across and trying to prove that the rumor isn't true and also reporting it is very important.
This is something I actually have experience with back in my school days. So unfortunately, I was not brave enough to go step up and do things. And even when the teachers did find out about what's happening, like when I told them, I was basically told to ignore because nothing can really be done, right? And that's actually very sad because I wish someone stood up for me when I complained. Not everyone has that kind of emotional support. They don't have that kind of emotional intelligence to go about it. I personally did not. I felt so vulnerable because when people are spreading rumors about you, they obviously things that are not true, and it frustrates you to know that people believe a lie and they have that image in their heads. Makes them so stubborn that even if you do a nice thing, they wouldn't really accept it for what it is. They will try to figure out what's the motive behind this, or she's just faking it and all of that. It really does impact you a lot. So I think it's very important at that stage to have people to talk to, because it's really emotionally very, very draining for you. So go to your counselor, go to your friends who are true friends, not the ones spreading rumors. They are not your friends. And of course, if it's cyberbullying, Ishita very well said that you should definitely keep the evidence. You should talk to the authorities. And once you have coped with it, you will understand that yes, now I'm strong enough to take that action. I can go about and report it. That's when you do it. And for in my case, the rumors eventually died down. uh, it was a difficult phase to cope with, but eventually people just realized that it's nothing. They just moved on from it. A lot of the people, I don't know, they maybe still believe those things are true, but I stopped bothering. I stopped bothering. Why do I care about what they think of me when I know this is not what I am? And today I'm really far away from all of those people, and I'm happy where I am here. I don't have any rumors going on. I'm in a safe place. And I think that distancing has really helped me a lot, because I did block those people. I blocked them, I unfriended them, I moved away from them. So now that emotional trauma is somewhere not there with me. So if you're ever in a situation like this, uh, do what's right for you. For some people, block and distance may be a good way. For some, confronting them would be a good way. It all depends on what feels right for you.
Yes, and also it's all about that emotional support and that emotional support circle. And like you said, if you are too scared and you're not brave enough to speak about it, that's where that level of anonymity comes into play, so that you can speak out about your issues and you're not afraid of people being like, oh, she did this, she's weak because she couldn't handle it, and things like that. It's all about that emotional support circle.
That is actually valuable information.
Okay, so this question is it's a lightning round. You could call it a lightning round. So just a very quick answer. We need a short answer. So which one would you suggest? I'll give you an option. Thinking before you speak, or having done or said something hurtful and then sincerely apologizing for it.
Thinking before you speak.
I agree, thinking before you speak.
Okay, one more really quick question. Um, Once a bully, so many respondents who were bullies said that they were remorseful after a while, realizing their consequences. So, what do you think a bully should do once they realize their consequences? Just apologize or leave the victim be and let them move on with their life?
Apologize.
Yeah, definitely apologize.
Okay, great. And now to the last question. Victims of bullying have shared some words that they would like to say to their bullies. Like one was think from the victim's shoes, another one said just learn to respect others and be kind, and one more said bullying does not make a person cool in the eyes of society, right? So these are some of them. Similarly, what would you have to say to any bullies that might be watching this?
I would definitely go down the route of think before you speak, put yourself in the victim's shoes, and show that empathy.
And I'd just like to ask all the bullies, why is it that you're bullying? What is it that you need? What is it that you do not have and wish to attain from such acts which really damage people to the core? So look into yourself, get those issues addressed, find a way to heal yourself, and be kind, because others need it just as much as you do.
Okay, thank you so much. That brings us to the end of this interview session. Thank you so much for joining us. It was very nice meeting you all and getting your insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for having us here. It was great being here, and I'm glad that we are taking such initiatives. It's a really, really big step forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much.